Hey guys, it's me, Meryl. Long time no see, if I've ever seen you before. I have taken the time to create a yin style yoga class for you. And yin, if you are unaware, is a very slow style, very cooling, very passive, wonderful to do before bed or in stressful situations and you need to take a break and ground down. Our world is very yang, very fiery, very full of movement and things to do and be and accomplish. And so yin is a nice complement to that, to kind of, again, just ground you down and let go of a lot. Again, it's passive, so we're letting go versus forcing, trying too hard. Permission to not try, just be. And I will be putting us on a timer. And the app that I use is called Meditation Timer. Very simple app, great to use for things like this. So you'll hear, maybe you'll pick up a little gong-like sound after the timer goes off. When to begin, when to end. And it's going to be a wall class today. So the only prop you'll need is a wall. And if you don't have a wall, perhaps move your couch aside or whatever's in front of a wall so you can get to it, because it is a really nice way to do some poses passively. And one thing during quarantine is I know we're all doing yard work, and so I've been doing a lot of yard work. That's Nibbler. She'll say hi on occasion. And so I've been on my feet all day, and I want my feet up. And we're reversing the pull of gravity here. Our feet are in the air, so it'll be really nice if you have any swelling in the feet or soreness in the feet, get them up over the head, over the heart, and let them release. So that being said, I'm also going to do this without music, but I'll create a Spotify playlist that you are welcome to look at and, well, listen to, and you'll follow along with that if you wish. When I put you in the final relaxation pose, you'll have the option to stay there as long as you want. And the song, there'll be a Shavasana song at the end that you can stay with. And again, you can be there as long as you want, but I'm going to peace out at that point. I hope I said everything I needed to, and we'll get started. So I'm on a mat, but I have a blanket on top of my mat for a little cushion, and then if your floor is really hard, it might be nice to have an extra blanket by the wall where your bum's going to be. And to get up on the wall, you can do it however you wish, but there's also a simple way to kind of do it, where you'll take one of your sides to the wall, scoot forwards quite a lot, almost as if you're off your mat entirely. You'll lean back, and as you lean back, swing your legs up, and now your legs up the wall. So we don't want to have our hips all the way to the wall. You might notice that puts a really big pull on your hamstrings. That won't feel very nice. Also, when we shift into different poses and stuff, it's not going to feel very good, and in fact quite awkward to be up against the wall. So give yourself any little squiggles and squirms. Remember, there's space in between hip bones, sitting bones, and wall space. And we'll take a few moments just to kind of ground down and get in tune into this moment, into our body. You're welcome to place your hands wherever they feel good. That might be elbows out a bit and hands rest on the belly. Some people like to take one hand onto the heart, one hand onto the belly. You can do Shavasana arms, or if you're feeling it, I'm a big fan of arms over the head. I like the space it creates around the ribs and the length in the spine and kind of the openness across the chest. And it also feels a little vulnerable to be here, so it's nice to kind of sink into that discomfort and slowly over time allowing it to become comfortable, if that's something that perhaps you've struggled with in your life. If you feel like you need a pillow, you can always place a little pillow underneath your body, underneath your head. The neck is long. And I invite you to close down your eyes. And take a few moments to be still. Notice what that feels like to be here in this moment. Notice if you're holding on to any tension anywhere in the body. What you may be gripping or clinging on to. And with each breath out, can you set the intention to let something go? And that something might be physically in the body, mentally in the mind, or an emotion perhaps within yourself. And allow the breath to deepen. Attempting to breathe with the entire trunk of the body. And so even though you're actively breathing deeper, try to not let it be forceful. So there's a gentleness to it. And we'll create a little movement in the fingers and the toes. And we'll point and flex the feet a few times. And then give the feet a wave in and out, in and out. And we'll enter our first pose. And so very simply, you're going to bring the soles of your feet together as you begin to bend the knees out. Let the heels sink towards the hips into a reclined bound angle. So for this one, it may feel kind of challenging to keep the feet and legs relaxed. And this is one I typically find where you want to be a bit closer to the wall. So if it feels awkward, come a little closer. And rule of thumb here, the tighter you are, the further away from the wall you want to be. If you're more open in a pose, you can come closer to the wall and that'll help you get more stretch. So that being said, recline bound angle. Soles of the feet are towards one another. They'll kind of fold out naturally, so maybe just the pinky sides are touching. Try to relax the knees as much as you can. And timer's going on. And so same idea with the hands. They can be anywhere that feels good. So maybe one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly, maybe both fingertips to the chest, or arms overhead. Whatever feels good for you right now. Sorry. And so you'll begin to settle into stillness, into silence. Into a state of observation. Let the breath deepen, let it be full. And remember to use your breath as a grounding tool. So anytime you get lost in thought and begin to wonder, remind yourself of your breath. Deep, full breaths in and complete breaths out. And you begin to deepen your breathing. In slow motion, you'll draw the knees towards one another as you slide the legs back up. Give yourself some gentle movement in the legs. Sometimes I like to press my hips up off the air or off the ground into the air. A little shimmy, a little shake. And we'll meet back at legs up the wall. And you'll pause here for a moment. Witness what it's like to be on the other side of the pose. So the pose is of course important, but so is the release. What can you feel there? All right. So our next pose is going to be a figure 4 shape at the wall. And what's really nice about this pose is that if you're ever in a yoga class and they have you do pigeon, and we'll say a yin style yoga class, so they have you in pigeon pose for a really long time, this is a great variation to do, great option if your knees don't like pigeon pose, which from my experience, a lot of people don't. So Remember this. All right, so we're going to start with crossing left ankle on top of right knee. So you want the ankle outside of the leg a bit and let the left knee kind of open out to the sides. Now what will happen is you're going to take your right foot and flatten it on the wall as you begin to bend the right knee. And the right foot will slide down any amount until you start to get a nice stretch into the left hip. So it's going to be about this area on the other side. And so if your foot slides down and your hip starts going up, you've gone too far. So take your foot up so you're not drawing your leg in as close as possible. Your feet will be relatively relaxed here, body relaxed. And a thing that's important with yin is that you're not jumping in the deep end of the pose, but instead you're getting to the beginning of the stretch. You'll stay there for a few long moments, and if your body wants to go deeper, listen to that cue and take yourself deeper as your body unravels you so. I'm going to come back to the timer, and we'll begin. So remember, you're finding any good position for the arms, anywhere you can really fully relax. Body is as heavy as it can be. Remember, effortless. You'll come back to the breath as your anchor into this moment. And this time around, see if you can give your breath a count. So your inhales will be maybe 3, 4, 5 counts. And your exhales, try to let it be the same amount. So pick a number, inhale for that number, and exhale for that number as well. Create a little movement in the body. And to release the pose, simply slide the right foot back up the wall. Release left leg to meet the right. Point and flex the feet, roll out the ankles. Again, I like to take my hips up into the air for a moment or two. Take them down. And invite yourself into stillness to feel the release of the pose. And we'll prepare for the other side. So right ankle crosses on top of left knee. So on top meaning closer to you. Ankle is past the knee, just a hint. And you'll begin to slide the left foot down the wall as you flatten the sole of the foot on it. Remember, if you start going down so much and your hips start lifting up, that's too much. Keep the foot a bit higher. Don't hesitate to micromanage your pose, so feel where it really works for you. You'll find a shape that you can hold and be still in. And we'll begin. And you can start by noticing how this side feels compared to the other. So maybe you notice this side is more open or tighter. And it's not good or bad, it just is. And after you make some observations about how your body feels in this shape on this side, you'll invite back the mindful breathing with a count. And whatever your count was for the inhales and exhales, can you invite pauses at the top and bottom of each breath? So you'll inhale for 3, 4, 5. Hold your breath for 3, 4, 5. Exhale for whatever count you've chosen. And then hold the breath out at the bottom, so no air, for the same count. So we're creating a breathing technique called square breathing. So inhale, pause, exhale, pause, all the same length. Do your best and begin. we'll come out of the pose slowly, begin to straighten the left leg so the foot goes up the wall. Take your time, right foot will meet the left. Create some soft movement if that feels right. And we'll find legs up the wall and stillness for a few breaths. Alright, so next pose is going to be a squat, but on the wall. So you're going to start with your legs up, and this is one where you may really need to scoot backwards or forwards. And we'll separate the feet a little wider than the hips. Begin to bend the knees as you flatten the feet onto the wall and let the heels sink pretty far down. And what happens here with gravity is going to pull our knees out to the side a bit. And if you're more open, you're really going to notice that a lot more. So what you want to do is angle your feet in the direction of your knees. So of the femur bones, they're going off at an angle. Try to get your feet in that same angle. So if your butt is coming up off the mat, scoot a little further away. You may need to adjust the positioning of your feet further out, closer together. But you should be feeling the stretch in the inner thighs here. So take a few moments to settle into this shape, into this pose. And I will begin the timer. And you'll enter a state of stillness. A state of observation. And we'll come back to square breathing. And if you feel comfortable doing so, see if you can extend your count by 1 or maybe 2. We'll make our way out of the pose. And I like to get out of the pose by kind of toe walking my feet up the wall. It's kind of a tricky one to get out of if you've been in it for a while. Try not to shoot right up on out of it. We'll extend the legs back up, legs up the wall. Give yourself squiggle squirms, that might feel nice. And for a moment, let's bend the knees all the way into the chest, wrap the arms around the legs, and hug your thighs in towards one another. So we're engaging inner thigh muscles, squeezing muscles back to bones. Then we'll release, send the legs back up the wall. So I'll give you all the option for your Shavasana. If you want to stay with legs up the wall, I invite you to stay here as long as you wish. Or if you want to take a traditional style Shavasana and scoot away from the wall, coming entirely flat on your back body. Have the feet wider than the hips, arms by the sides, palms face the sky, and you'll settle into that shape. So again, your final pose, either legs up the wall or a traditional Shavasana on your back. And once you're there, you'll close down the eyes. You'll let go of any breathing technique. And you simply just be for as long as you need.